I wish Governor DeSantis would just stop burying his head in the sand like an ostrich. What I really want him to do is bury his head in a bucket of water.
Hard Rock Lunchbox.
Oh, what is up, everybody? And happy Thursday. And let me fix my microphone. All right. All right. Oh, man, we are back again for another Hard Rock Lunchbox. It is season 8. My God, I cannot believe it. For those of you that will be watching this on the top 20 in 2 weeks, you'll see I have a new hat. I have a white hat, which I should not have a white hat. But what happened was, I get a lot of stuff from VC Ultimate. They do, they support a lot of Ultimate Frisbee teams and stuff like that. And I've gotten merch from them over the years. And what they did is they had like a grab bag. They were like, hey man, for like $15, I think it was, like, you can have like 2 hats. And I was like, cool, I do that. They sent me my red hat that I was wearing just to piss off my drummer. That was funny because it amused me. I didn't realize why I was pissing him off, but it did piss him off. And are you guys hearing a thump? Is that just me? I don't know. Is it a thump? I can't quite. Oh, I found it. I don't even know how to explain what that was. I have a, yeah, never mind. It's not even worth trying to explain. So anyway, so the red hat, the reason it was pissing Noodle off so much is he thought it was like a Trump hat because it was red. And I was like, really? I guess we've lost the color red to the wrong fight. And I thought that was pretty surprising. For those of you that are interested in such a thing, I will be discussing social and political things later today on the show. I know I said I wouldn't, but too many stupid things keep happening, so we'll be discussing some of that. But so anyway, the second hat I got in that bundle was a white hat. So I decided that I'm just going to leave my white hat down here. So if anybody has any objections to the white hat, please feel free to let me know. You can reach the chat by going to hardrocklunchbox.com and clicking the link, or you can go directly there to 99wnrr.com and see all the stuff that's going on over there. So we've got a few things to talk about. Let's talk about the basics. Let's cover all our housekeeping, shall we? Let's. Oh, by the way, yeah, we never did figure out who that was last week. Okay, yep. Join the chat, find out what that's about, or don't. That's fine by me. I have a white hat. We'll talk about that next week. So the top 20, a new top 20 is out today. That is basically the top 20 minutes of the Hard Rock Lunchbox, in which we are doing that like right now, but like 2 weeks ago. So it's like, when will then be now? Soon. The episode is a pretty good one. It talks about like the Capitol Police when they were being accused of reading right from a Pelosi script, as opposed to, I don't know, maybe having a prepared statement. And we're talking about like the passing of musicians, because Dusty Hill from ZZ Top had just died, and sort of like lamenting the necessarily darker world that remains once those specific points of light, blah, 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 blah. It's a good top 20. I don't think it's as good as the one from last week, but I would watch them both and then compare them. But don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. I answer every single comment on there eventually at some point. Usually pretty quick, but not always. So feel free to leave a comment if you want to see what the top 20 actually looks like, especially if I have props like this. In Bacon Is My Podcast news, they have a new interview out with Action Adventure Band from Monday. They have 7 questions with, I think it's Rhett Titus. He's a wrestler. That's what it says. I don't know him. I know very little about wrestling. But more important than that, my long-awaited Bacon Is My Podcast 7 questions, basically the pre-interview, came out, I guess, yesterday. Yeah, yesterday was Wednesday. Yeah. I don't want to toot my own horn, but if you want to see a really good 7 questions, I would check it out. I don't know how many of you guys, I know there's a lot of crossover, obviously, between the Hard Rock Lunchbox, the Top 20, and the Bacon is My Podcast stuff. It is a ridiculously stupid interview, but like exactly what you would kind of expect. I don't honestly remember most of it because I feel like it was months ago, and I actually watched it and I didn't remember some of the stuff. Like once I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, that was probably it. But the 7 questions that they do, so they do an interview, right? And that's usually like an hour or whatever. In my case, 7 hours. And then what they do to start every show or every interview, they do 7 questions, which is basically like, let's just get to know them real quick. And it's your take on like 7 kind of outside of the box questions, like not what's your name, but like stuff like how many pillows are the right amount of pillows. But one of the questions is, what is the correct pizza order? And I have a lot to say on that. Like, I like pizza. I am also cursed by the fact that I really can't have pizza all that often because as gluten goes, pizza is one of the most glutinous things there is because gluten is really the protein bond that makes breads strong. So like if I'm going to have a bread with gluten in it, like I got to kind of aim for like sourdough and stuff, but I really need to stay away from like pizzas and bagels. So if you think about it, like they have a bunch of, like it needs a lot of strength, especially if you're going to like pile a bunch of stuff on. But I did say what I believe to be the actual correct pizza order is, but I did caveat it a little bit because there are some things that are true in the Northeast, and there are some things that are true not in the Northeast about pizza, and I think that those things really do matter. But one of the caveats I had added was right here, and it's just like a little teaser, so you guys can listen to it and see if it's something you want to listen to. But this was my after answer about the correct pizza order.
But, and I experienced this at the Jersey Shore Festival. Mm-hmm. You've experienced this as well.
Yes.
Where at 2 a.m. on the Jersey Boardwalk, the correct answer is any pizza order.
Any.
And you will pay anything for it.
Indeed.
And wait for how long. Because I remember ordering it from that guy, and I'm like, how late are you guys open? Like, how late are you guys going to be hungry?
Right.
Like,
so, in my opinion, that is the correct answer, right? 2 a.m. on the Jersey Shore. What is your correct pizza order? And the answer is any pizza order. Any order that involves pizza that you can receive and then consume is totally the way to go. Now, there's a bunch of other questions in there, so I do suggest you check it out and enjoy the episode for yourself. By the way, they do this with every guest, so if you kind of like this format, like it's usually a very quick thing. Like my pre-interview is about 18 minutes long, and they edited the F out of it because we just talked way too much, and by we I mean me. But normally they're like 12 minutes. It's like a real quick thing, and you get like a taste of who you're going to be seeing on the Monday interview. It's actually a really good, like you can decide right there and then like, oh, is this going to be interesting on Monday? And then you can make the decision. And generally speaking, I find that it's a good icebreaker and you kind of understand what you're getting into for the Monday interview. Now, the main question, obviously, it's Bacon is My Podcast. So they have a question regarding bacon, and they offer up options for like what bacon actually is. Now, I am a big believer in bacon. Not only is there not gluten in it, but bacon is also delicious. It actually makes me feel really bad because every time I really do consider pulling back on the animals that I consume and try and shift more towards plant-based stuff, like one of the few foods I think I would like really truly miss on a regular basis would be bacon. And I try not to overeat the bacon. I really don't. Like I'm kind of good with like 2 pieces. I'm big with the bacon flavor, and I don't need it to be like huge to be the star. Like sometimes like less is more, and I feel like bacon is kind of like that. And my argument was that bacon is the main thing. Anytime you're ordering bacon, bacon is the star. It's the main thing. And I honestly think my argument for it was a really strong one. And I really pulled it completely out of my ass. But ever since I have leaned into it, and I think this is right. And you can listen here and let me know what you think.
He was asking.
What are the options
right?
again? So is it an appetizer?
No,
Is it a
topping?
Topping.
A side, or a main course?
Yeah, I don't consider it to be a topping at all. I mean, you could do bacon bits if you want to be like that guy.
Don't be
but
that
like
guy.
when it's like a bacon cheeseburger, like there's a reason it's first in the name, right? You know what I mean? It's not a burger
Okay.
cheese bacon.
Right. So it's not a burger cheese bacon. It is absolutely a bacon cheeseburger. It is a bacon, lettuce, and tomato. It is a bacon, egg, and cheese. It's first for a reason. You don't think whenever you go to a law firm, they put like the newest partner first, like, you know, Fellini and Barnes or Celino and Barnes. I don't even know. Like, I don't know. Whatever those are. I assure you, the first name in there is the most important name in there. And that is basically the way it is with bacon. And you can disagree because in America, you are free to be wrong anytime you want. But if you want to hear the rest of that and further explanation of my take on bacon, it's on Strangerhood TV right now. While you're there, you can catch that. You can catch the top 20, and you can catch the Retitis 7 questions, and then my interview. And I honestly don't even know how much of my interview is actually going to be on the Bacon Is My podcast this Monday, but I know that some of it's going to be, so check that out. Let me know what you think. Like I said, leave comments in the right on Strangerhood TV and YouTube, and we'll answer them. And is that true? Celino and Barnes broke up. They're not a thing anymore. Bacon is expected all the time. Like, I don't want to argue with the chat like flat out, but like I will. So speaking of being wrong all the time, and being free to be wrong all the time, I want to talk a little bit about what's going on in the country politically. I mean, I could talk about the Cuomo stuff. I could talk about de Blasio and how just I wish he would just go away. But I really think it's important under the veil of what's going on with COVID and school restarting. And as we start to slide, I know we have a heat advisory, but do realize that fall is coming and then winter comes after that. Before that, though, I do want to point out that I realized something yesterday. I realized that I am at the age now, age, weight, and size, that I have been using my phone. I have always thought that the phone, like the, smartphones, I don't use my phone hardly ever. I almost never talk on it. I mean, it's good for communication and stuff like that. I don't use it all that often. But I have always said that the phone is like the single greatest Swiss Army knife tool. I love that it has a flashlight on it. Like, that to me was just, that was a game changer. Because I used to carry little pocket flashlights with me when I would tour, so I could see in the back of my gear and stuff like that. And the fact that it has a camera, like, I don't take a lot of pictures, but a lot of times I see stuff and it's like, I just want to take this, not so much to see it later, but to actually share it and be like, look what I just saw. It's cool. I think that's why I resonate so well with like Instagram and stuff like that. But I have found that I have been using my smartphone, my digitally connected to satellites and the world's smartphone, more for one particularly disgusting thing than anything else. I have been using it lately to confirm and analyze cysts of acne on my back. Now, before you pass any judgment whatsoever, I realized I could go upstairs to like one of the bathrooms and like try and take a look, and that's why I'm saying like my weight and size have now affected that I just can't really, and it's much easier for me to take a back selfie real fast and just then look in, like, what are we doing? Is it something that's poppable? Is it just going to be a cyst? Is it a cut? Is it a chigger? I mean, I think that's a down south thing. I want to make sure there's no ticks back there, that kind of stuff. So I don't know if anybody else does that, but like I had that realization. I actually wrote it down. But I'll stop grossing everybody out now. I want to talk about really what's going on in the South specifically with COVID and the Delta variant, because I'm not interested at all in really convincing anybody anymore that COVID is a thing. I don't care if you get the vaccine. All I really care about is if you do your due diligence and learn about it and make a smart decision for yourself. I'm a little concerned with the way kids are being handled in this, because kids obviously don't have their own say, and they're pretty much doing whatever their parents tell them to do. And it was funny, like, what's going on in Florida specifically, because Death-by-Desantis, their governor, is like just a horrible person, and just the awfulest representation of political, like, panhandling, and just so, he's such a douche. He like, of all the governors, like, I think Kristi Noem is disgusting. Like, whatever, you know, all the stuff that Andrew Cuomo was doing, I think was terrible and stuff like that. I'm yet to find him to be disgusting. I just, you know, he's got a lot of problems, but like, there are so many governors out there that are just awful, awful people, and they're just pandering and they're playing politics, and it's so transparent to anybody that actually just watches. And I think that is the part that's really bothering me the most. Like, the Rolling Stone article from over the weekend, not that Rolling Stone is like a bastion of news, it was just the title of the article was the best, because it was like, you know, basically like, while Florida has the highest hospitalization rate of children, DeSantis is still fighting against mask mandates at the local level for the schools. And now he's looking to try and strip school boards of their pay if they institute mask mandates. A couple of school boards have been like, yeah, I don't give a shit, dude. Like, you're an ass. This is stupid. This is a local issue. We have local hotspots. We have local infections, and we're going to do this, which I find funny, because DeSantis himself and the GOP in particular are always all talking about like executive power and executive overreach, and they were furious with all the stuff that Obama used to do, and blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. And here he is making this executive level decision for all the localities. Like, yeah, it's not the United States talking to states, but it's the states talking down to the localities, the towns and communities. Like, this is something that Republicans traditionally argue against, and yet they're exactly doing it. Now, what you could do is you could just say, yeah, man, figure it out locally, instead of having a mandate from the top. And that works both ways, because he could have a top-down mask mandate saying everybody has to wear a mask, and those same people should argue against that because they don't like the top executive level telling them what to do. But that's exactly what he's doing. He's telling them they cannot do something. It's the same thing. And, you know, and what's going on is that even the child hospitalization rates are through the roof. They're the highest in the country. Florida is leading the nation in COVID cases. And people still argue like, well, you know, it's 99% survivable. That's not true anymore. It's actually dropped to 97% survivable, which still sounds great. But that's 3% of people that are going to die simply because the governor said you can't force these people to wear a mask. The governor in Tallahassee, the armpit of Florida, is deciding that for, I don't know, the south of Florida, like Miami-Dade. If you've ever driven through Florida, like, it's a long state. They have very different things going on in very different places, and that is so important. But the hypocrisy of just like, no, you can't do that, blah, I have spoken, like, and not in a cool Mandalorian way, is really kind of a problem. And the reason it's pushing it over the top for me today is because even though Florida, in my opinion, is the hotspot and like in the spotlight and all that other stuff and everything's going wrong, I just want to advise you of like one kind of thing, like the state to watch right now is Mississippi. And I would never argue that in a normal kind of situation. But the reason Mississippi, I think, is your bellwether right now and this state to watch is because the governor there, whose name I cannot recall, but it's probably something stupid. No offense. Not all offense. I don't care. He proclaimed from his pulpit that everything was fine in Mississippi. There is no problem. There is no there. Everything is under control. And now he has left the state to go to a GOP, that's the Republican, like, national level fundraiser, just kind of hang out with his butt buddies in the Republican Party and think of new ways to say nothing is happening. While he did that, the state level director of the hospitals in Mississippi, specifically in Jackson, which is the capital, and the biggest hospital in Jackson, held a press conference. They held a press conference to say that the hospital system in Mississippi is, quote, days away from failure. Days away from failure. And that doesn't mean, and he was very clear, he's like, that doesn't mean that we aren't going to try and help as many people as we possibly can. But what it does mean is that they are so full with COVID patients, especially in Jackson, that they have moved the children are taking up the ICU, and they have now moved teenagers into a couple of the operating rooms, and the emergency rooms. And that's great, and 97% of these kids are going to be just fine, and that's exactly what we want. I'm not wishing death on children. You could argue that their parents are being irresponsible, and that could be a problem. But these kids will be fine. Hopefully they're going to be spending weeks in there. There might be some long haul issues and long COVID and stuff like that. That's still being figured out. But what's happening right now is that normal people, regular people, that are arriving in ambulances because of heart attacks, because of strokes, all kinds of other stuff, are being turned away. They're being turned away because the hospitals are full. That's happening now. And we're still days away from failure. In fact, Mississippi is in such a bad place that they have requested and have now officially received federal help. Like basically like the National Guard for doctors, federal medical management. It's like DMAC, I think is what it's called. And what that means is that there are federal reservists, medical doctors, nurses, respiratory, all these people, technicians. They are arriving in Mississippi right now. Federal medical officials are arriving in Mississippi right now. They are going to be setting up temporary facilities in one of the garages at Jackson Medical, the big hospital in Jackson. They're setting this up. It'll be housing like 50 some odd people. But we are now, as a country, me and you, our federal tax dollars and our federal medical personnel are now going to Mississippi to bail them out because their governor said that there is no problem. Now, this is not an opinion. This is not, we should do this or you should do this. This is what is happening today. Federal people on the federal level, from the federal level that we as a nation are paying for, New Yorkers, Californians, a lot of people that are doing their due diligence and doing their job are now footing the bill to send medical personnel to Mississippi to bail out our 49th/50th educated state in the nation. And that is happening right now. Their governor has left the state to go blow his Republican friends and to talk about how great everything else is going. And that is happening now. And you're going to see that start sweeping through the South, because as long as these governors keep their head in the sand so they can just please their constituents who honestly don't have a scientific stake in it, they just do not want to be locked down again, because wearing a mask and not going to concerts and not eating food outdoors is so difficult. And I understand how hard that was, and I do not want to see another lockdown. I did not want to see it last as long as it did. But the reality is, if you keep denying what's actually happening on the ground every single day, what do you think is going to happen? You can't keep lying to yourself. Be like, there's not a murderer behind me. There's not a murderer behind me. Does that ever work in horror movies? Has it ever worked once? Of course not. And as I said, in my opinion, eloquently the other day, I wish Governor DeSantis would just stop burying his head in the sand like an ostrich. What I really want him to do is bury his head in a bucket of water so we can finally get rid of one of the biggest problems we have in this country. And that's kind of all I had to say about that. I don't think it was political. I think it was social and factual. We can argue about that. You know I can argue about that. Let's lighten the mood, shall we? I've been digging on this album so hard. I cannot get enough of it. So I'll just apologize now. But here it comes. It's a little night fever for you. I know. I said it. Wacka 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 wacka.